Great to see a packed room. There's not a spare seat in the house. We've got a really great agenda lined up for the course of today, and hopefully that'll stimulate loads of great discussion. I know it's early in the morning, but as we go through the process of the presentation, it'll be really great to hear from all of you. We are all indeed experts in this field, so it would be great to hear everybody contribute and bring loads of good questions and good discussion to each of the topics. My name is Peter O'Hanlon. You'll come across me around the course of the rowing circuit through the year, and I've had the pleasure of moderating most of the discussions through the course of today. So the schedule for today's agenda, we're going to start off with a discussion around new models for increasing diversity in rowing clubs, before we move on to how we include indoor rowers in our NF memberships, moving on then to an open discussion around some of the challenges that are faced around our federations, and then we'll have a brief break for lunch before we come back to discuss some ideas around possible challenges to the statutes. Changes to the statutes. Thank you, Matt. And then moving on to safeguarding, new safeguarding policy before we summarise and close. So we've got a great agenda lined up. In terms of housekeeping, it would be great if everybody could keep their phones on silent. There aren't any fire alarms planned as far as I'm aware. But let's have a great conference today, so please get stuck into all the discussion. To set a bit of context for today, please could you help me welcome Jean-Christophe Rolland, Vice President.
Good morning, everyone. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this National Federation conference. As you can see, the room is a little bit small, and it's a packed room, as I just said. You are more than 50 in the room, representing almost 37 federations. So thank you for joining us to this National Federation. So some of you are very familiar with this concept. I've attending already our National Federation's meetings during the year or the previous year, but as I can see new faces, I would like to briefly introduce you to this concept. Actually, you know that the society is evolving very, very quickly, and the sport, the world of sport, does not escape to this evolution. So we, as the leaders of the sport of rowing, we need to adapt to these changes, and we have not very often the opportunity to meet with you, so it's important for us, for FISA, to be connected with the National Federation. And once a year at the Congress is not enough, so that's why we have this new approach since 2013, and we want to be much more close, much more connected with you, the National Federation, so that you can contribute to this exercise to allow us to make changes in our sport, and so that when it comes to the decisions to make, we are all well prepared. So it's important that we have this kind of connection, that we have the opportunity to share with you this the exercise when we have to make changes. There is also another aspect for this National Federation conference. It's also for you to share your own challenges you are facing. And I'm very pleased, and I would like to thank all the contributors that will take part of this meeting today. You will share your experiences, and it's very important that you can learn from the other federations, that you can all share and improve what you are doing in your federations. So won't be much longer. You have received the program. The program has been presented to you. So now I wish you a very fruitful meeting. As you know, just briefly, at the end of this meeting, we will join in the big room the Sports Medicine and Science and Coaches Conference, so that we can make, and with Matt Smith, the Executive Director, and myself, we will provide you with an update on the key business matters, and especially in this time, on our strategy for the future. It will be a joint session with the conference. As you know, these days in Berlin, we are gathering a lot of part of stakeholders of our community. We are having this conference with the sports medicine and science and coaches. We have also organizing committees here around. We have the ball builders and manufacturers of our sport. We will start tomorrow and for the next 2 days the Joint Commission meeting. So we have these days in Berlin a full gathering of the sport of rowing and our community. And that's why also we'll take this opportunity, and I'm sure you will enjoy tonight the FISA Awards ceremony. So thank you again. I wish you a very fruitful discussion. And now let's start with this National Federation Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe. So just a quick word on the format of each of the panel discussions. We're going to invite our panel members up to join us up on the stage. We'll then have a brief presentation from each of the panel members before we open up for discussion and questions. So the first panel discussion we have up is the new models for increasing diversity in rowing clubs. So please welcome up to the stage our panel members: Henning Bay Nielsen from Denmark, Dusan Machacek from the Czech Republic, Sabine Chaga from Germany, and Chris Group from the USA. So a brief word from Matt to give us some context to this discussion.
Good morning, everyone. As JC said, the world is changing very quickly, and it includes us, and it includes our clubs. And actually, the health of our clubs is the key element of our sport. We need houses that hold the boats so that people can participate in our sport. So I did a survey of some of you to get the challenges you're facing, and nearly all discussed the issue of how fast society is changing and how it is affecting the clubs and the young people in the clubs. And we have some excellent presentations I picked some names out of a hat to share with you some of the new ideas that are happening in some of the clubs in these countries, to stimulate a discussion about where are we today with young people doing rowing in our clubs. So that's the context of the first panel here, and back over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Matt. So I believe we have our first presentation from Henning Bay Nielsen. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being the first speaker. And a few others need to follow, so I will try to be brief. But I have few slides that I would like to share with you as a sort of startup for today's discussion. So I would like to start with a short intro to Danish rowing, and then jump over to some statistics on how Danes do sport today, and then the burning platform for rowing as I see it in my part of the world. And then if we have time, I could easily jump over to a few ideas on how we can solve the world. Okay, Danish rowing, what is that? 148 clubs, and today I just received a message that a new club has been sort of included in the federation. It's a small club, 2 members, and a rowing ergometer based in a basement. So that's a new concept on how to sort of develop rowing clubs. An ergometer, a basement, and 2 persons. 1/3 of the clubs have more than 100 members, and approximately 55% is members of between 20 and 100 members. The economy is based on membership fee, so the club pays a certain amount of money based on the number of persons or members they have in the club. 75% comes from strategic money from the central sport government, you say, in Denmark, and then we have some money for the elite. Okay, how do we do sport in Denmark? So as you can see, over the years, Danes are pretty active. In 64, it's 50 years ago, only 15% of the Danes were active in sport, and now we are about 60%. And kids, they are pretty active in sport. So it's been an increasing curve, and some may say it is declining a little, but that's how it is. And how is sport organized? As you can see this graph here, there's different colors, and you can start with one of them. So that's the blue one. So people do sport as part of a club. And as you can see, it's an increasing curve, but it may drop a little. The light blue is commercial, that is fitness clubs. And this is a pretty new concept early in this century, basically. So it's increasing, so curve, so people do exercise in fitness clubs. And the interesting part is the orange one, self-organized exercise. People, as you can see, people do a lot of exercise, but they prefer to do it self-organized. Canoe on the top of the car, you know, do tennis, sort of off the record, and we skip the rest here. So self-organized exercise is a preferred way to do exercise in modern society. So how does it go with members in Danish Rowing Club or Danish Rowing Federation? And we start with the blue one here. This is a total number of members, and as you can see, 25, 50 years, 30 years ago it was about 15,000, and it's still about 15,000, but it's slightly decreasing. And if we can see some of the interesting numbers, if we cut it up in age groups, this age group here is between 25 and 59, the gray one, increase over the years, but dramatically decrease. And if we can say take the master rowers, the orange one, we started to sort of split the groups in 2005, and as you can see, dramatic increase. And the sort of scary thing is that this here is the young rowers. It's decreasing. So we're losing young rowers. And what compared to other sports? This is Danish rowing. 16,000 and 20 years ago, 15,000. Basically stable. But what happening to the competitor, the canoeist? We fight sort of for the same type of persons, as water enthusiastic people, dramatic increase. So basically we're not doing our job good enough. We are stable, but some others are really hitting the roof. Okay, what's the burning platform? Demography is changing. We have an alarming reduction in under 23 rowers, and there's a booming number of master rowers or recreational rowers. And the main challenge in modern society is that families they have on average 1 hour on a daily basis to do exercise. And people demand quality, and rowing on water, as you know, it's pretty time consuming. Another burning platform, less clubs participate in competition. 20 years ago we had 52 clubs participating in a major national regatta. This year was only 30 clubs, and only 20 clubs have juniors. And what do young men do today? They do e-sport. It's the most booming sport in Denmark. It's called a sport, but it's the most booming sport in Denmark. And sport in a modern world needs to be flexible, accessible, easy, individualized, self-organized, and maybe a little dangerous. So what will happen if we do nothing? If you remember the curve from a few slides ago, if we extrapolate those curves, what will happen? So if we start with the total number, 15,000 today, 12,000 in 2048. That is maybe okay. But if we look at the under 23, 30 years ago, we had approximately 8,000 under 23 rowers. In 2048, only 700 rowers if we do nothing. So we are really losing young people. What to do? Can you come up with some good suggestions? So what is the problem with rowing? Can't we see the forest for the trees? We have it all. We have wonderful clubs, we have beautiful water, we have excellent material, we know how to do it, but basically we are losing something. I don't know what it is, and we can come up with a lot of ideas, and just show you this. What do children prefer? They prefer water activity. We have it all, but basically we are losing something. Okay, what to do? I work on every platform. I do whatever I can to interact with central and local sport politicians. I'm networking with local communities, with clubs. We try to do strategic projects to bring awareness to rowing. We do whatever we can to motivate the rowing clubs to get affiliated with schools. We do projects where we have ergometers on trailers that schools and rowing clubs can borrow for free. We try to expand the interest for coastal rowing. We do a coastal to coast project, coastal on wheels we call it. So coastal rowing is accessible. Bring the coastal boats where they have the waves. Inspire the clubs to engage with juniors. It's really difficult. When the age limit in a rowing club is plus 60, then people are not interested in doing coaching with juniors. They are mostly interested in sort of drinking coffee with themselves. So what to do? We're trying to focus on keeping those members we have and try to stimulate clubs to engage more members and especially young members. And then we try to focus or study those federations who are successful. So maybe should I move on or okay? What to do? Oh, I have lots of ideas. So first of all, we need to energize the clubs. We need to find those people in a club who has the energy, who has the motivation, who has the power, who has the spirit, and they are out there. And we need to find them. We need to interact with them. And in some way, we need to get the clubs moving again. We need to get them enthusiastic about not only local rowing, but also international rowing. We need to bring them opportunities that inspire them. We work with new membership formats, basement club members. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a way to get them affiliated to the rowing, to get them in our community. New membership formats. if a member comes into a rowing club, we need to bring the whole family into the rowing club. Recreational rowers, they have a need for vacation. We need to deliver vacation for them. Why not do a worldwide rowing tour catalog? People, they go on golf vacation. We need to deliver rowing vacation. Rowing, the recent rowing tour in Denmark is row around Manhattan. People travel to New York to row around Manhattan. Brilliant idea. Rowing must be a little dangerous, but also safe for the elderly. Coastal on the edge. Coastal rowing is the wild water rowing, and we need to bring that in. Bring the coastal rowing, the coastal boat to where the waves are. Social media is really the power of time. We need to educate our clubs, but also us as a community, the National Federation. We need to educate each other. We need to inspire each other on how we're using the social media. Super important. Can really move something. Virtual rowing formats. We need to use the electronic formats on engaging with the young people. Virtual rowing, why not? They would love it. A game on rowing machine, why not? And based on Rowan's electronic university, and for somehow we're lagging behind in how we develop the business case of rowing. We need to, in some way, develop how we visualize the rowing action. We need to have live interview in the boats, audio in the boats, the audience seeing live streaming, rowing. They need to feel the water, they need to feel the tension, and they need to hear the coaches. They need to hear the screaming from the bowman saying, "Push up." We need to bring that into the audience. And we need to have spectacular camera angles on our boats. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Henning. Some great insights. Come on back. So we're going to have some time for questions and discussion after we've had all the presentations. So please can I invite Dusan Makachek and Czech Republic. Tell us a little bit more about his views.
Hello everyone, thank you first of all, Henning, for excellent presentation and a lot of inspiring ideas. Well, I won't be, my presentation has less statistics and maybe more inspiring stories. Of course, and please, especially native speakers, be tolerant with my English. And yes, little statistics about Czech rowing. Our federation is relatively small, especially compared to Germany. We were founded even in 1884. We have just 40 rowing clubs, and 2 of them are focused on para-rowers. We have 4,000 registered members. 1,800 of them are from 11 to 18 years, and we have 3 high-performance centers under the umbrella of Army, Police, and Ministry. Basic facts: what we are proud of, what's our pros. We have international successful. The rowing in Czech Republic is relatively successful compared to another sports. We have Olympic medals. We have medals from World Championships, and even in juniors we have a relative big success now. best Czech rowers are the local heroes like Ondřej Sinek, Mirka Knapková, Václav Chalupa. Rowing in the Czech Republic is not an upper-class sport, maybe compared to other countries. It's done historically, but we are relatively happy with it. And federation and clubs are relatively well financially supported by the ministry and by the regional and local governments. On the other hand, we are facing to relatively small number of clubs and rowers. For example, even compared to, we have altogether 40 clubs in whole republic. Just in city of Berlin is roughly 50 clubs. We have no tradition with recreational rowing, rowing for all, if you like. We have no specific non-competitive clubs. All clubs in Czech Republic are focused on competitive rowing. We have also no tradition in university rowing. It means we have, compared to Netherlands, to GB, we have no tradition in university rowing, and it's our biggest disadvantage for future development. And almost all rowers are competitive, just very small part are hobby rowers. And the same as all federations, we have a new enemies, like new sports, new, more progressive disciplines, and we must face them. Otherwise, we won't survive as a sport. And we have like a natural barrier, as I mentioned. We are almost on the edge in competitive rowing, and the capacity of our boat houses are almost full. We are just very little space to be for growth. On the other hand, as I mentioned, we have a big space with no barriers, with non-competitive and academic rowing, as well as indoor rowing. Indoor rowing is another issue. We have a special development program, but what I like to mention further is two case studies regarding non-competitive rowing. I chose two case studies. First is like a new activity in traditional boathouse, and case study number one, newly founded rowing club, was really different. First one is in traditional boathouse founded in 50s, last century, and it's a traditional boathouse covered by the multi-sport, let's say, unit. It calls the Bohemians Praha, and even before 2011, they have no hobby rowers at all, and they decided spontaneously, without any support of our federation. They found a small group of hobby rowers, and now they have about 60 rowers. It means 10 times more. 60% of them are women, mostly between 30 and 40 years, and they have just 2 full-time coaches and little helpers, and little more helpers. So Matt asked me about some more financial issues, so I'd like to present you that this project is not completely dependent on public funds. All sport activities of hobby group are covered by the members themselves. They pay roughly 15 euros a lesson. It means 100 to 150 euros monthly. And the facilities and boats they hire from the original rowing club. You know, it's almost impossible to build a new, completely new boathouse. So the way they chose it was to separate small group of these hobby rowers from the classic and traditional competitive boathouse and build a new group. You can see the example. They mostly row on quads on the water as an entry discipline. And this is the guy, one of the founders of the hobby rowing group, Daniel Chalupa. Just no relation with Václav, what I mentioned later. And I have many discussion with him. I asked him, Daniel, tell me what's your key point of success. So it's very tough. You have no support from us, from government, from nobody, from ministry. And the key to success was to show people that rowing is not just about racing and everyday hard training. And they love to train for fun, to be part of a group of similar people. So it means their motivations are rather different, and they adjust their relation with them on another base. It means no press to competition. They want to row for fun, and that's the key. How to let's say target a completely new group of potential rowers. Another maybe good example, this man on the picture is 43 years old. He begins to row just 3 years ago, and he is also the part of hobby rowers in Bohemians.
53?
50, so sorry, I missed. 53 is correct. 53, and he started to row, and he has no previous competitive sport experience, not at all. No swimming, no running, just his personal stories. He brought to his son to the boathouse, and he was boring during the waiting for the son, and he decided, well, so should I stay here and wasting the time for waiting for son? So he asked the Daniel, what I mentioned before. Hi Daniel, so can I try something? But I'm too old. I'm not sportsman and so on. Yes, of course. Come and join to our group, and he'll learn row relatively quickly. And this year, this guy rowed from Prague to Hamburg, 800 and something kilometers in 12 days as a hobby rower. It means it's a perfect and inspiring example that even in older age, with no previous experience, if you can, you survive everything. And it's one of examples. Of course, no everyone is able to do such a, let's say, crazy like a race or something. But there are. Yeah. By the way, I decided to follow him. But anyway, his performance is much more much more valuable than mine. Yes, so that's it. That's it. Like it's our big challenge. We have in like a small conclusion of this example is for us, and what we've learned from this case is that. Even if you can't see any light on the end of the tunnel, it means we have limited numbers of boathouse. We have our community is focused rather on competitive sport. There is a good example how to cross the border, and offer the people something new. And it's a good example how to widen our community, specifically in our country, of course. Another good example is, you probably know this man. If not, this is 5-time or 6-time Olympian, Václav Chalupa, our rowing celebrity in 90s, and he finished his career even in 2007. And this is the medal from Barcelona.
2008?
2008, sorry. And his first medal from Olympics was from Barcelona, 1992. And this guy, it's his current picture on the left side. He completely decided to change his mind and priorities, and he relocated himself with his family from Račice, which is our rowing venue, to Lipno in his 50s. And by the way, the Lipno is our largest artificial lake in the southern part of Bohemia. And he built a completely new boathouse in cooperation with the mayor of the Lipno. He established the rowing and ice skating club in Lipno 1 year ago. And because of rough water and windy conditions on the lake, because it's real big, so he used mostly coastal boats. It means another step forward. Even if we obviously have no sea, it's a good example how to develop even coastal rowing in Czech Republic. And Václav is the biggest fan of coastal rowing. Well, financial issues, they founded the club also without the public money. The boathouse, it means racks, boats, oars, equipment, was paid by Václav and the mayor of the Lipno themselves. They shared indoor facilities with Yacht Club, which is already there. And regular members pay 30 euros for first 4 and 3 lessons, and then, if they decided to going on, to then 15 euros monthly, and hobby rowers pay 20 euros, including equipment. And Václav has a big success during summer. He has full boathouse with regular members and with just hobby rowers, and with the people. They are just wondering what the rowing is, and he very patiently explained them what's going on. And this is the we call it boathouse, but it's just the wrecks with the mostly coastal rowing boats, but it works. And Václav is relatively, he is happy there, maybe much happier than in Račice. And that's the example. Even during, and that's the reason why they call it rowing and ice skating club. During the winter, it's full of ice, and Václav Chalupa's row is even care about the ice skating track. Well, so it's another, for us, good example that if you can, and if you are positive, you can cross the border no matter if the conditions are against you. And like my or our, what we've learned from these two case studies is first that what's like the basic for the success. If you find and choose the right people with a positive energy, it means at least 80% of everything is done. Second, what we've learned that money is usually not the main barrier to go further. Money comes later. Usually, of course. And the third conclusion, what we've learned from these cases, that the role of federations is mainly to encourage and help them rather than direct and control. So, and maybe my, like a little personal advice, if you like, is if you really want to achieve some goal, so please close your eyes and just jump. That's it.
Thank you, Dusan. Some really great insights there to the differences I think already we're seeing between the federations and the different cultures and nationalities in the nature of rowing in each country. So there's a great quote actually where 80% of success is just having positivity to show up in the first place. So it's great that 100% of you in this room are already 80% of the way there. So the next presentation, I'd like to invite Chris Brew from the USA. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Because I'd rather not use the microphone. I wanted to begin a little bit with diversity and inclusion, and that's what we're challenged with our club. And I'm going to be looking more at the individual club rather than the global part of our organization. But diversity is celebrating the differences in all of us, but inclusion is actively working to get those into our clubs and our organizations. A little bit about U.S. Rowing. U.S. Rowing has about 75,000 members. 25,000 of them are what we call championship members and participate in our regional championships, our national championships. The organizations we have, if you look at collegiate, scholastic, and clubs, it's about 90% of our organizations. Clubs are about 45% of that. The age of our members, we aren't seeing so much what the Danish are seeing. We're seeing a large increase in the number of kids, younger people. 48% of our members are under 18 and under. 72% are under 23. But we also are seeing growth in the older masters section too. Gender, we have achieved gender parity. We've got a little more than it's pretty close though. Where we have the challenge is in this section here. Of our rowers in the United States, only about 14% of them are people of color. And that's where we really see our growth potential as being an area that we really need to work on and trying to attract what we call the non-traditional groups of rowers. My organization, we run the Casperson Rowing Center, which is a training center for our national team, but we also have junior programs. And so for the rest of this presentation, I'm going to be looking kind of at what we're doing and what some of the other clubs are doing. For us, inclusion and getting more we feel that that's part of our moral imperative in addition to the possible growth of our program. When we look at, especially with the junior statistics, what happens to kids that don't finish school, that don't move on, it's pretty abysmal. So we see that as part of our moral objective there. When it comes to how to diversify, how to reach these non-traditional groups, we really have three big factors that we're looking at. One is they have no idea what the sport is. They have no idea they can do the sport. The second part of it, though, is a lot of them aren't comfortable around the water and swimming, and so we have to bring them in and teach them that part. And then the third piece for us is transportation, because a lot of this segment we're looking at, their families don't have the ability to transport, and we don't have that public transportation like some places do. So the first part of it is how do we get them engaged in the sport and think of it as a problem or as a possibility. Rowing in many ways is not a traditional sport, although it is one of the oldest sports. But we don't have a tradition of that in our schools like we have for baseball or basketball or some other sports. And we don't have the professional superstars that they can look at and say, oh yeah, I want to be like Michael Jordan or someone else like that. And in the United States, unlike some other countries, it is seen as being this sport of the rich and privileged. which is a result of a historic background there. So what we've done to try to address these is we've gone into the schools. We go into the schools and try to introduce the kids to rowing. Part of that is with demonstration with ergos. We have what we call a school assembly where people come in and we teach, show them what the sport is. We also have brought and put ergos in the schools, and there's kind of two models. One that we're following where we've essentially given ergos to the schools and worked with their physical education classes to incorporate that into the classes. There's another group out in Seattle, Washington, on the west coast of the U.S., who has a trailer with ergos in it, and they go to the schools, and for 3 months they will work with the school and teach the kids how to row, and then they'll move on to the next school. So, but it's all about trying to get the kids involved in the sport. We're right now the first Generation Z, where they've grown up fully digital and they know how to get involved and they want to be engaged in things, like Henning said. So we need to figure out how to engage them and get them into that, and then realize that the sport is a possibility. And then we've also created after school or part of school rowing clubs or indoor rowing teams. So we have an indoor rowing ergo championship, and so we've gone into the schools and helped create the school indoor ergo team. The next part of our problem is water. How do we get them comfortable with water? So we looked at our community and saw the resources that we have. We have some clubs, sport clubs like YMCAs that have swimming programs, and their part of their mission is to get kids involved in swimming in water. So we've been able to couple with them and create what we call a swim to row program, where we go out and recruit kids. They learn how to swim, and then over a 6-week period, we take them 2 days of swimming for the first couple weeks, and then we switch them to 1 day of swimming, 1 day of rowing on the ergos, and then by the end, we take them to the lake and put them into a boat. So it's all about getting them comfortable with water, being able to swim, so that if anything happens, they are comfortable with that, and then we can get them into the rowing boats. Transportation is one of our biggest problems. We don't have public transportation that services our boathouse, and a lot of boathouses in the United States are the same way. And the families we're looking for don't have their own transportation, or if they do, it's being used by the family to get somebody to work so that they can't use it. So we've been working with our families that do have transportation to create carpools where they'll go and bring other kids with them to it. We have used our vehicles. We've purchased some vehicles for just transporting the kids. We've looked at hiring commercial providers, which for us was a very expensive problem. And then we've looked at partnering with other organizations like we've done with the swimming. The challenge is everybody wants to move the kids at the same time, and so that's been a bit of a challenge for us. We look at our trying to reach out and bring more people in beyond just kids also. We've done with adults and trying to get adults in the community more rowing. We created a adult summer rowing league last summer, where we went out and to corporations and companies and individuals, and people could sign up as teams, or they could sign up as individuals and we put them on teams. We started this last summer where they would row 1 time a week, and then at the end of 6 weeks we would have a mini race. We wanted to have 6 teams to begin with. We had 11 teams, over 100 rowers involved in it. And of those, 30 of them converted to our normal masters at the end of the summer. So that's another way, but it was fun. They could do it. Summer's a nice time to be on the water when it's nice, and not the winter when it's a little cooler. And Oklahoma City, another place in the United States, has used the same concept for getting kids involved, where they would do a kind of a league once a week, and then they would transition them into the normal programs. We do corporate team building, where we have corporations come in and we teach them about teamwork through rowing. and that has yielded and expands the reach of the sport. And then we've done Learn to Row Day, where we open up the boathouse and anybody in the community can come down, and in an hour and a half we'll teach them how to row. Some other programs around the U.S. Where we are looking at trying to integrate diverse kids into our existing program. There's some programs like Row New York, which has created a program which is specifically designed for the minority and non-traditional rowers. Their goal is to try getting kids into college using rowing. About 80% of their kids come from disadvantage. And they include an educational aspect. In other words, the kids spend 1 day a week working with tutors to help them to improve their education. Row Boston is another one that has a similar program. It's geared towards the disadvantaged school or the economically challenged areas. And then Matt asked us to say something about financing. In the United States, we have very little, if any, of the money comes from government, the funding the sport. Even at the Olympic level, we don't have government support of our programs. So most of our programs are all fee-based. People pay a fee to participate. For those families that can't afford that, we work with them. We try to find people who will sponsor those kids, and we go out and find some contributions for that. And we've also found in the U.S. we can get grants for programs that have an educational aspect, because people want to, grant makers want to be able to say, we've helped this kid move along in life, and so if there's an educational part of it, you can also get grants. And I'm just going to skip over this one and move on, because we have one more person in here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Really good to see some of the different insights from different countries here. But as you say, Chris, please can we invite Sabine Tager from Germany up to hear about the last nation.
I'm so sorry, English is my favorite language, but I will do my very best. Last year I was a club coach for the last 10 years in Krefeld Roller Club. Now I'm the head coach from the under-19 in the German Federation, but I have good experiences, and they asked me if I can talk about the last 10 years from Krefeld. And you can see here we have our trainings group in 2016. We have the championships in sprint in Krefeld, and this is only the group from the seniors. And in the middle is Lisa Schmidtler, is one of the famous rowers now in Krefeld. She won the quadruple sculls in Rio. And a little bit you can see our venue, water venue, and these are the young guys in Krefeld. They have also a lot of fun. Krefeld, if you wonder why it's called Ride with the Sea, because in 1883 Krefeld will ride with the sea, and be traditional in German, so we let it with the sea. But it's the same city like Krefeld with the K. We are one of the oldest clubs in Krefeld, we built. We have more than 400 members. I think it's for Krefeld it's big, but not so big if we have other clubs in Germany. They have nearly 800 and more. A lot of people think we have more members, but we only have 400. We work hard to get more. We have a lot of high performance sports and mass sports. We have a lot of people who do sports for activities, not for high performance. We are also a regional training center in North Rhine-Westphalia, and a national training center for young talents. But it's only a title, we have to fill it, and it helps us to earn some money from sponsors. Then we have a full-time coach. My colleague is now also a full-time coach with a USB certificate. And we are all coaches have license ABOC from the German Federation. We all took them in the program because we want high sports and on a good level. So we show them that they have to do it and we pay for it, that they can do it with the license. Mostly of them are not full-time coaches, they are students or after work. But we work together with schools a lot for talent scouting. It's necessary for us to get enough talented kids to come to us. We have close contracts with them. And former pupils are role models. You can see here it's Lisa Schnittler and Michaela Starberg. It's now in the double international team in Profit. And they come with me and we go to school and make some lessons, sport lesson with the kids, and we put the ergos on the place and they all look. And then we started 100 meters, and after half an hour they all want to row 100 meters. And they are very interested about it. It's funny to see. First 5 minutes is, oh, what is it? And after this they want to do more and more. But you can interest the young people with it. And also, Krefeld are lucky because we have in a good part of the city. We have the region Elfrat, Feerberg and Gartenstadt, these are parts of Krefeld. And also nearby is Moers and Duisburg. We have in the part of Krefeld we can recruit young guys to come to Rome. And we have also the classmates from them. They ask them if they want to come to Rome. And sometimes you're lucky, you have the Starbergs. There are 9 siblings. But it's only a joke because, yeah, they're all sisters and only one guy or one mother. And 3 of them rose international, 2 of them are married now with one of the, with 2 guys from the German 8. And actually, only Michaela is now in the national team. She's in the double. So there's sometimes we have luck. Also, we offered a lot of variety of sports of all ages in summer and winter. We have a lot of activities. We also have ergo classes rowing, also for weightlifting. So we have a full program to stay the whole time in the club. But we have some problems because our club in Elfrater See isn't so big as we need. We build always one, build another, because it's historical. In 1883 we have only the boathouse at the River Rhine, and in 1993 the Elfrater See were built because for the motorway A57 they need the sand, and the owner from the area was a rower. And he said, okay, if you do it, we can do it. Now we have in 10 years or more the regatta course. And in 2001, we have 2,000 meters. It's not so long time. But also important for us to hold them is we have various activities where all members participate. Such as summer party, we have Winter Gala. Winter Gala is a big event. There come a lot of former rowers to show a family, and so it's a nice fest. Regattas. We have also sometimes championships or international regatta for 2017. And also the regatta, it's a big experience for the whole group of Krefelder Ruder Club. All helpers are not paid, they did it for their own, and so it's nice. And also rowing, Bundesliga, we have a big team, and events much more, so I can't explain it. So I take 2016 was our highest, where we were very proud about the season. We have a big group who grows international. We are in all kinds of events, from Elite to under 19, and also rowing Bundesliga international. And we are the record holder with Bundesliga. We have 9 times champion, and also the girls are mostly in the first 3 places. I think we think we are one of the top 5 clubs in Germany, and we are also a successful club in North Rhine-Westphalia. All the club members of the CRC participate in international and national championships. And also the rowing Bundesliga is a big part for us, and it's good for us to stay people there who don't row on a high level, but they train a lot, 5 or 6 times or more. And a lot of them are not studying in Krefeld because we have not a big university. They study in Dortmund or Bochum or other, live there, and they came back for the weekend to row on Krefeld and for the rowing Bundesliga. But they did a lot of work by herself in the study places, so they came back to row together and to have parties sometimes. And we are also grateful in place of performance and support of our creative talents up to reaching the world tops, and to help them to get a high level. And we are very proud because our venue is now a Olympic distance. We can do the big championships because we have the European Junior Championships. I think that for some people who were there, it was very nice, very familiar. And and we hope we can do more championships there. But it was hard work for us. But they all are very proud about this, that we can handle it. Yeah, and how can we do it? That's actually, Krefeld have 5 members in the Elite, and I think maybe 5 in the under 23. This year we have no one in the under 19, but I hope next year. And when I was head coach, we asked us what can we do the next 8 years? What will we earn? And we make goals for 1 year, and goals also for 8 years. And this was in 2015. Our good rowers, this was seniors, this is under 23, and this was juniors. And now actually Michaela Starberg is in the 18, also Laura Vollert, and they are on the under 23. Yeah, they finished the career. Okay, sometimes it is so. But for this to make it, we need a little bit, much work. Nobody can see it. Everyone think, oh, Krefeld runs by their own, but it's a lot of work, and lots of people are involved in this to become famous and one of the best rowing clubs. No, it's a joke. I took a little film for it. You can see how proud the Krefeld members are about the rowers. They came from their own club. Example, Lisa Schmittler, she came from a school class who rows after school. And the teacher who makes a rowing class says, okay, you have talent, please come to rowing. she don't want because he was a horse girl, and she asked her sometimes more, and then she came to rowing, and I think she had a huge career, and also with other people. Yeah, you can see also the venue in the film. And can you start? Yeah, this is a regatta venue and also our training area. We have only some sailors on there. Sometimes in summer it's a little bit hard, but mostly we are more rowers, so we have more experience. Yeah, and this film was made of a rower, not professional rower. Yeah, they are very proud about Lisa Schmidtler. And this is a rowing Bundesliga, the boys. In the same year, it was in the Singer. Michaela Schmidt, Starbeck. This is Krefeld, there's a sprint championships. We have, you can put a start pontoon 500 meters. We have 8 lanes, you can row on 8 lanes, but you need one to go from the start. No, it's finished. Okay, I think you can see they are very proud about these are national members who rose in the national team, and they did it for the Winter Gala, so the film, and they are all proud about the rowers. They come from Krefeld and to row in the national team. And it's not only about the rowers who row there, it's about the whole family and all the whole members. There are a lot of proud, and I think this is one of the key facts for Krefeld, that they are involved in the system to put them into high-level sports. Okay.
Thank you, Sylvie. Hopefully we'll see some bids coming in from Krefeld to host something soon. So do come and join us back up on the stage. We'll open up now for a great opportunity to involve you all in discussion. What really struck me through the 4 presentations was the variety of the challenges that are live in each of the national federations, and some great suggestions on how we can tackle that. So before I fire in with all the questions I'd like to ask, I'd like to open up to the floor first. If there are any points anybody would like to make or any questions that you'd like to ask.
I guess first we need some fresh air.
Sorry?
We need some fresh air.
Some fresh air. It's chilly out there, but I suppose we can open the window.
It's cold.
Okay, so what really struck me through some of that was, Henny, you spoke a little bit about the emergence of, I don't know what to call them, but sort of micro clubs. Just a few people trying to set up on their own. Do you think that's a great demand in some of the other areas? What do you think, Sam? Is that something you might be seeing in the Czech Republic too? Little micro clubs popping up?
As I mentioned, you probably hear me or not, please tell me. As I mentioned, we have a special environment in Czech Republic. It's because from the past, the development after the Second World War, we have as our colleagues from post-socialist countries. So the rowing was developed by not for upper class sport. Otherwise, we are rather lower class sport. For example, the membership fees in our sport, even comparing to another ice hockey, swimming, athletics, are even lower than and I'm not talking about comparing with the Western countries. So we have no barriers into some financial, but our culture is like on just the right side. It's competitive, and I'd like to share with you, and please give me some good advice how to help us to wider like a non-competitive sport. If you have, please don't hesitate and tell me.
How about you, Chris or Sabine? Do you see the emergence or demand from your federations or the local areas for little micro clubs, people wanting to just set up on their own?
We see more clubs, smaller clubs starting in the U.S., especially at the junior level. But I think they also, for ergos, there's a lot of smaller clubs that have started, and a lot of health clubs. CrossFit is a big organization in the U.S., and they have a lot of, they incorporate ergos into theirs. And so what we haven't done a good job is tapping into those and bringing them to the water. But there are a lot more people involved in those types of microclubs.
How about from Germany? Do you see a great demand for smaller clubs popping up?
I think it's not easy for smaller clubs to come higher. But I think the work must be done in the clubs. They need 2 or 3 people who say we have an idea, we want to do it, and then they can ask the federation, and then they get help. So it's no problem. But you have 1 or 2 people, think like Václav. You have one guy who is very involved, and they say we want to do it, and you need some people who have the experience to do it.
Yeah, it sounds as though we need Václav to move around a little bit and to help in a number of different places, because he seems like he's quite a tour de force in creating this on his own. But talking about people who are great at doing it on their own, we spoke a little about, there was a consistent theme through some of your presentations around heroes or superstars popping up who many people can look to. Who would like to talk about either some successes or what others can learn from where we see a lot of that? I know that Dusan, you mentioned that North America can have and others there. How has that formed in the Czech Republic? How do others have such great visibility that they become superstars?
Yeah, so we are relatively lucky. So we have now Ondřej Sinek as like a big star. He's like a public celebrity. Almost everybody knows him. His face is on billboards with some cakes. It is connected, of course, but no matter. So he's like he's public hero, and of course it helped us very much. And it's interesting. Henning mentioned that they are fighting with canoe friends. And you are losing a little now. We have a similar situation in our country. You probably know that our canoe friends are very successful on international base. They are unfortunately even more successful than we are, even in juniors, and it's perfectly visible whenever they reach some good results, especially in Olympic Games, but even in World Championships, then they have a full boathouse. It means those like local heroes inspiring a lot the young people, because it's about emotion, and it's the best kind of advertisement to have such a local heroes.
And Henning, do our canoe friends in Denmark have local heroes?
Canoe friends.
What can we learn from
It's a battle. Basically, it's a battle of the same water, the same rowing course. It's about attracting the people to the rowing clubs, and as soon as the canoeists they come into the rowing clubs, rowers are social people, but for some reason I experienced that the canoeists in some way, as soon as they have settled in a little corner in the rowing club, they expand. And suddenly, and they multiply. And suddenly, they're not over in the corner. They are all over the floor. And then the rowers are sitting over there. And suddenly, at a general assembly in a rowing club, then the canoeists take over the board and kick the rowers out. And it is what is happening. So it is it's not a war, but it's a challenge in how to make rowing sexy. So the rowing clubs in some way develop rowing to the sport that people is attracted to.
Maybe we should start visiting some canoe clubs. And there's a question on the floor. Could you just stay there first?
Thank you, Carol Purser, Rowing Canada. Two comments. You're correct. There's an image problem with rowing, and I think part of the image problem is about how hard it appears to be. And it's early mornings in Canada. It's early mornings, it's cold with crappy weather and all the rest of it. And so you have to overcome that image and make it sexy, absolutely. But I did like what you talked about with the working on a rowing club. Sort of the gentleman Chupa had started a club that included ice skating. Then it becomes a year-round. Yes, it becomes a year-round venue, and people are committed to the building for lots of variety of reasons. We've been looking at in Canada as well to try to grow diversity of sport within the same venue to keep people engaged and having some success, but not quite as successful as you pointed out. So I guess my question to all of you is, what are other ways to diversify that club setting so that cost is shared as well as people having a reason to come to the venue? What are some other ideas that we could build on?
It's a really good question. I wonder, Sabine, we've just seen Crefeld Club being set up. I wonder what your thoughts might be on that stuff.
Okay, sorry, what?
We've just seen Crefeld
Yeah.
Club and the great
Yeah.
venue that you have there. I wonder what your thoughts are on the diversification of the venue for additional sports and how to share the costs.
Yeah, but it isn't easy to share the costs. But we are lucky we have the ground, we can take it. We don't have to pay for it, but we have a lot of costs for the buildings. And we have 2 boat houses, but the boat house on the River Rhine, it will be if you have make parties or weddings or so there, then the money goes for it.
So it's sort of beyond sport then, isn't it?
There's no sport, and in sports we earn money from the North Rhine-Westphalia. It's called Sporthilfe. It's for the coaches. We get some money, but we need good roles to earn it, and so that it helps us to get the staff for it. And also we have some sponsors, but it only works with the rowing Bundesliga and Lisa Schmidtler. Also because it's a regional boat, they all know the men's 8. And if we have in the city the sports gala, it's a big part, the rowing 8, girls and boys. Everyone knows the Krefeld 8 and a little bit Lisa Schmidtler.
Chris, how about in the States?
There are a number of clubs who do other things where they will rent out their club space for weddings or different events. The challenge always is how do you balance that with the rowers who want to come in and row. And we have multiple groups using our facility, rowing groups. So we have the national team training there, the juniors and the masters, and everybody, like Kenny said, they come in and we have a group of masters and all of a sudden they're expanding and they want all the water time and the national team wants the time. And so we see more challenges just balancing the different rowing groups and what to use water.
Maybe Henning, you are maybe too negative towards chemicals. So of course they have a wild water, they have a recreational and many. So we have like we are very close to them in Czech Republic. By the way, our Army's club, the Dukla, is shared with canoe sprint guys and girls. And Račice, we have a as a co-owner. We have a majority, but the canoe federation have some part, and we are very close. Of course, they have maybe in our country they have a bigger base. They have even wild water. It's another very successful Olympic sport part. But on the other hand, they have, and I always try to be positive. They have no indoor canoeing as a sport discipline. And it's our big challenge. So, but I know it's another panel issue. Maybe we can share our experience later. But I won't be so negative towards our canoe friends. For example, our best kayaker, Josef Dostal, he is a world champion last year and Olympic medalist, and he was trying to row on ergometer. And he destroyed the display because he's so strong that it showed under 1 minute per 500. It means yes, 59 or something, and the display didn't recognize it. And we said, "Oh, Joseph, come on to row." And no, even if he's very tall, he's the same height like Ondrej Sinek, but he unfortunately stick on kayaking.
Wow, impressive stuff. So we're running short on time. I'm conscious there are some more questions in the room, but things are starting to move on pretty quickly. So we're just going to take, we will be back for more shortly afterwards. We're going to have a very brief break for some coffee, toilet breaks. So 10, 15 minutes, I think is probably best. We have scheduled 15 minutes, so we try to come back in 15 minutes time.